G'day, if you've got leather in your car, whether it be on the seats, on your gear stick, on your gear knob, or on your steering wheel, one of the things you might be wanting to know is how to maintain it, particularly if you've bought a used car and whether the leather might be a little bit worn, might be to the point where you're concerned about trying to keep it in best as condition as you can. If you bought a new car, your leather's probably in great shape, but even then you might want to know how to maintain it, particularly if you're going to maintain that vehicle, keep that vehicle over many, many years. If you're going to have a vehicle from new and it's going to have to last you 10 years, for example, you might want to be able to, keep that leather in great shape. Particularly, at the moment we're doing about 15,000 kilometers a year. If you're keeping a vehicle for 10 years, that's 150,000 Ks. That's a lot of time spent on those seats. So this is really important. I'm hesitant to use the word rejuvenating because we can try and bring things back from a terrible state. And if you've got cracks in your leather, if you've got massive splits in the leather there's some cracking, but if it's split open to the point where it looks like a tear, there ain't no bringing that back. You're going to have to replace the section. Some people will try and do some leather weld stuff, and in my experience, I have done that before. Never lasts very long at all. Once it splits through, you're going to have to look for an alternate repair. But if your leather's getting hard, your leather's getting worn, particularly on your bolsters or on the top of the steering wheel, here's something that I use that has really done wonders for me over the years. Now, I'm not wedded to this particular product. This is leather conditioning or saddle dressing. You buy this generally for your boots or for your saddle if you're a equine enthusiast. I'm not wedded to this particular product. This is an Oakwood variant. Usually I run with RM Williams leather conditioner or any other brand of leather conditioner that you can buy in a saddlery store, horse equine kind of store, or if you're going to somewhere that sells shoes, obviously they'll often have it. I buy it in the biggest tins I can. This is one I found handy in the shed. But usually I'll buy them in big, 4-litre cans like paint because I use a lot of it. It's great on your boots, particularly if you're wearing work boots. I use this on my dress boots, on my work boots. Even the boots I've got now, they're not completely leather, but most of the body of the boots are leather. So I use them on that. I use it on my belts. If you've got a leather jacket, you can use it on that. And I use an awful lot of it in the car. So what do I do in the car? Well, I thought I'd give you an example. This is a steering wheel. This is the steering wheel off the Hilux. And it's coming into summer. It's spent a lot of time in the heat. And I've noticed that the leather was kind of having a tendency to smooth out. So I've actually taken it out in this instance so I can really get into all the nooks and crannies of it. And this wheel's been, shellacked in saddle dressing, leather conditioner rather, for the last day or so. And I'm going to leave that on there just to really kind of penetrate and soak in as best I can. Then you buff it off. And it really does come to a rather nice finish. So that's on a steering wheel. If you've got a wheel, particularly if you've got a leather wheel in your 4x4 utility vehicle or SUV, it might be a Land Cruiser, or it might be a Hilux or a Colorado or a Ranger or a BT50, whatever it might be, if it's a Triton. One thing that the leather wheels won't like very much is if you get diesel on your hands. You fill your car up with diesel, it comes out the spout, or when you grab that handle on the diesel pump, the person before you spilt diesel, so it's covered in diesel, you get diesel on your hands, and then you put your hands on your steering wheel without washing them, and you can't get it all off just by wiping it on your strides or something. Put your hands on the wheel and you get diesel on your leather wheel. Really doesn't like that, and you'll see that over time the leather starts to wear. It smooths out, becomes really shiny. And then it'll start to kind of change color. That black leather, with most wheels black, they'll start to go lighter, and then they'll start to wear through. But when they start to get smoothing out, that's your first call that your leather's getting worn, and you might want to do something about it. So I give my steering wheel a full leather conditioning probably once a year, more if I think it needs it, but probably once a year it has it. And then on interims, I'll use an Armor All or something spray on leather, just conditioner in the interim, just to do a quick thing. I do it on the same thing on my leather seats on the interior. Quick spray, quick rub down, and that tries to keep the leather in the best condition it can be. One good thing, and we'll put this in the car now, and I'll buff it off and I'll show you. You won't get the full before and after, but it will show you a little bit of how that leather has penetrated it. It does a great job of cleaning the wheel. It really does. After it's penetrated, you buff it all off to it'll be a nice matte finish like it came from when you bought it new. If you're someone who puts a lot of moisturizer or makeup on your hands, sometimes that'll be, typically, not always, but typically a female driver of a vehicle you may buy it from them, a car that was one female owner, and you'll almost smell the person's hand cream of choice in the steering wheel, and that can actually wear the wheel as well, depending on what it is. You can think it might actually add to the conditioning of the leather, but it can actually do the reverse depending on what it is. And then when you put leather conditioner on it, after it penetrates, then you rub it off, it goes back to that matte finish where it was probably shiny before. So what I do with the steering wheel is I take it out of the car like that. Generally I'll take it out and then I'll take it down to the house and give it a good clean. Just soapy water and some detergent. Don't leave the detergent on it, but wipe it off. That's trying to get any contamination, any contaminants off the wheel, and then dry it. Once it's fully dry, into it with the leather conditioner, and then I just let it sit. Like if you're driving your car literally every day and you just can't live without it, you might need to just, once you get home from work, you might have to do it in the car, give it a good clean off, dry it off, put the leather conditioner on it, let it sit overnight, get there first thing the next morning as you're going to work, quickly buff it off, away you go. That's fine. If that's all the time you have, that's all the time you have. But it really does do a good job of maintaining your wheel. As a way of an example, a family member of mine has a leather wheel on their car, their Hilux, same as this one, an N70 Hilux. They've maintained their wheel without doing a thing, and I've maintained my wheel by this sort of regimen, as a spray on leather conditioner, and this probably annually. The difference is my car's done about 160,000 Ks, his has done about 170, and his wheel's completely worn out at the top and at the sides, 10 and 2 effectively. It's all it's starting to wear through and split away. My wheel's in great shape. So we'll put this steering wheel back in and let's have a look at how it comes up after we buff all that leather conditioner up, and then we're going to have a look at what you can do with some leather seats to also keep them in great shape. Okay, so the wheel's back in now, and we're just going to buff all that leather dressing off. We want to get as much of it out as we can. It really gets into the into the seams here. We want to get all that out because I've found if you leave too much of it on, it can upset your stitching a little bit over time. So you want to get as much of it off as you can. But the difference is where this wheel was really starting to feel very, very smooth and slippery. Now it's starting to feel a lot more grippy. And I can feel where that sandal dressing isn't. So you buff that all off. Now the top of the wheel here was starting to turn, a lighter color. This doesn't spend a lot of time out of the sun. But I can feel, where it has worn here, as opposed to back here where where your hands don't touch as much and where it's not in the sun as much. But this is a steering wheel. This was used because this is a Hilux Workmate. They didn't come with a leather wheel. This is a steering wheel off a Kluger that had done about 120,000 kilometers when I bought this, and I've done about probably 40,000 Ks with it myself. So this is about 160,000 Ks on this steering wheel, and it's holding up rather well. But that's, when you buff it off, it really does look a lot better. The color's a lot more consistent, and it can keep your steering wheel in good shape. So if you have to do it in the car, just rub it on, kind of massage it on as best as you can. You can't get in here behind the steering wheel controls, but you can get most of it on there. And then just leave it there as long as you can, and then just buff it off. Pretty simple. So let's jump over into the Land Cruiser and have a look at what we might do with seats. All right, so here we are in the Land Cruiser, full leather interior. This is a 100 series Land Cruiser Sahara. So what do you do? Well, it's pretty simple. Like, you're going to have high wear areas of your seat and of your trim. You know, with the steering wheel on the Land Cruiser, we have a wood leather wheel. So most of the wear comes, realistically, most of the wear comes from the sun baking down on the top of your steering wheel. In this case, we've got a wood wheel, so there's not much we can do up here. This here we can keep in good shape, but this car's done 450,000 Ks now. So, you know, there's been a lot of time sit on these seats. And when I bought it, the areas of concern on the seats were typical of, you know, any vehicle really. It was your side bolsters, the side of the seat where you get in and out, where you slide in and out. Now, we've got to be clear here. There is a lot of, you know, minor cracking, but the leather hasn't like cracked open. But you can see where the severe wear is. So we bought this at about 300,000 Ks. We're at 450 now, and the same areas of concern remain. So we've got bolsters on the side of the seat and the very outside edge of the bottom of the seat. So all I do is I just get some, you know, leather conditioner with my hands, and then just massage it in, and you just massage it until you get a consistent covering. It basically goes clear. It's a yellowy product, kind of looks like animal fat, or what you might think of lard. If you ever worked at McDonald's, it looks like the shortening you put in the fry vats. So just massage it in on your do the whole seat, I would, but pay particular attention to your high wear areas. And yeah, you just give it a rub in. Now, if you haven't got, you know, if you're going to work like me, I'm wearing work clothes at the moment. If I just had a light application into the seat, I might not even worry about buffing it off. I might let my backside rub it off on the way to work. But if I'm in dress clothes, if I was going to a wedding, I'd give it a really good buff off. But what I generally do is give that a real, you know, if I knew I was going away and I wasn't driving the car for a while, what I typically do is apply a really good thick coat of leather conditioner, and then I let it sit for the whole duration I was away, and then come and give it a buff off when I get back. In fact, I've done that at the airport where I was going overseas for work. I was going to be gone for a week, and I actually had all the car rubbed down in leather dressing, then did my driver's seat, closed the door, went and got on the plane, and then when I got back had a towel just to quickly buff it off. That's probably a little bit extreme, but you get the idea. So what has it actually done? Well, I've done this there's pretty good quality leather. You know, the early, this is, you know, early 2000s, that late 1990s, 2000 period. You know, Lexus was around, Toyota were using good quality leathers, good quality materials in their vehicles. That's why they've lasted. But you know, there's plenty, and I mean plenty, of vehicles that have done, you know, when I was looking at this one at 300,000 Ks, there was plenty of vehicles that had done the same mileage, and the seats, the leather was cracked and needed some pretty extensive repairs. So, you know, you can wreck your leather, you know, really quickly. In this case, the problem areas were largely the bolsters on the driver's seat, and then the front seat panel of the passenger seat. And you'll know that I had a Lexus years ago, and I could tell that the owner must have had an open bay garage, must have had a closed bay at the front, because the back headrests were just rock hard. The leather had dried right out, got really hard. That's where the sun had been shining in. In this Land Cruiser's case, it must have been a carport on a house, and the sun came in the driver's side window, because this front panel that you sit, the leather panel on the seat, on the passenger seat, is very hard. So it's been, you know, well, it's not, you know, it's hardened, let's say. Still fine to sit on, but you know, it's not what it was, and that's a problem area, because if leather goes hard, it'll crack real easy. So I was a bit concerned about that after I bought the car, and I thought, well, what am I going to do? Well, what I did was I just started this regime again, like the steering wheel. I do it annually, and then interim. You know, if I think that the leather's getting a little dry, I'll give it an interim bit of a quick touch up with some leather conditioner. But otherwise, just you know, a spray-on leather conditioner product. Use Maguire's or Armour All or whatever you use, just to try and keep it as well conditioned as you can. Now, if you've got discoloration in this driver's seat, we've got some discoloration where the heaviest, you know, the heaviest wear is. It hasn't worn through, but some of the cracks are a different color. So that can happen in leather. If you've got black seats, you might see some of that cracking like you might see in a pair of leather shoes. Well, let's call it creasing. Let's call it creasing. Some heavy creases in the leather, and some minor cracking, and that it starts. If you've got a black interior, the where it's cracked or creased, it might start to go a lighter color, might start to go kind of white. In this case, we've got a grey interior, and the cracks are going darker. So just think of this. I've had no problems with this and doing this for years. Just think of it like a pair of boots. You know, how would you maintain a good pair of dress shoes? Well, you'd give them a polish every now and again. So this is a grey leather polish, just boot polish and boot polish brush, and you can just give your seats a polish. Now I'll grab the camera and you can have a look. All right, so here we are. You can see, hopefully you can see, there's some dark spots here. And we're just going to give them a polish up with boot polish. Now you're going to want to give this a good buff up when you're done, because you don't want to, whoever gets in the car next otherwise, particularly if you've got a black car, if you've got a black leather interior, next person who jumps in the car is going to have black boot polish all over their backside. But you can buff this off and it'll look, you know, you can get all the boot polish off. Now, this is just what you do to a pair of shoes, just like a pair of shoes. So if you speak to a good, you know, a good boot repairer, shoe repairer, and you ask them how to maintain your shoes, they'll tell you leather conditioner, polish your shoes. Give your shoes a good polish, you know, and do it regularly. So you want to do the same thing with your leather seats. And for some of us who are doing a lot of mileage, okay, so there we go. So the crease is still there, but that discoloration is largely gone. In fact, that's really, really good. So that's some really bad dark spots here. They're gone. So you still see the creasing. That's all still there. I wasn't expecting to get rid of that, but those dark spots, that those parts of where the creases were, where they were starting to go a darker color than the rest of the leather, they're gone. So then once you've done that, buff it off. Beautiful. So whether you've got leather that's, you know, like this car, where it's nearly 25, nearly 30 years, no, yeah, nearly 25, sorry. Can't do my maths today. Whether you've got a car like this where you've got 25 years of wear and 450,000 Ks of wear on the leather, you can make it last longer. Once it splits open or you have a seam split, you're going to have to go and see a motor body trimmer, and they're probably going to have to repair a section. But in this case, if the leather hasn't split open, I've maintained there's two principal problematic parts of the leather in this car. That driver's side bolster and then the front panel of the driver's seat that's got hard in the sun. And I've been able to maintain those two parts of the interior over 150,000 Ks and no more cracking. And really, if I took this back to the previous owner, I would be surprised if they saw any difference in the wear of the seats over that period of time. So that's how, you just got to think about the leather in your car like you'd think about, the other, leather items you have, whether you've got a leather jacket, leather shoes. You would try and maintain them, but we can neglect the vehicles. We can think about washing the exterior, but we really don't think about how we can maintain the interior of the car, so we keep that in good shape too, because Once you wear a leather seat out, it's quite costly to repair it. And for the little bit of time, it really doesn't take much time to maintain your seats, to maintain your steering wheel. Doesn't take that much time, and it'll save you a heap of money down the track. So I hope this was useful for you. Thanks for watching.